Hi, welcome again to another episode of Coach's Corner. I'm Mike Lamb of Focal Point, Utah, and my good friend here, Adam Geheb, is with me of Focal Point of Cary.
That's right.
On this podcast, we like to sit together and discuss the future of business, and how we coach business. And today we've been discussing before this call or this recording leadership and leadership styles. And the different roles of leadership and how important it is in a corporation and in a business. And, Adam and I have discussed it lightly, but we really want to kind of dive into it a little deeper here today.
Absolutely.
Um, so, Adam, let's just start with what leadership is.
You know, it's almost easier to say what leadership isn't. It's not about being a boss. It's not about being controlling and or having all the answers. What is leadership? It's a great question and one that I think most people don't often think of. Um, Leadership is the ability to see the best in others, to listen and understand how to utilize people in their best positions to get the most out of them and the group. It's about having the ability to have vision and to see the future and to structure and to plan and to nurture and to grow. I mean, there's all these words that you can use to describe leadership, but at the end of the day, isn't the best thing about leadership or the best way to describe leadership is the ability to connect, to grow, to nurture, and to facilitate an outcome. And that's what you do as a leader, right? You are identifying an outcome and you're facilitating the actions necessary to reach that. And that can mean many things to many different people. And there's all different types of leaders out there, whether it be teachers, scoutmasters, coaches, you know, government in some cases, presidents, who knows, who cares? But at the
Sometimes
end
it
of,
can even be a peer,
I
you
mean,
know.
absolutely.
You
But
may have a manager, but there's someone in your team it's a peer that's leading out the team.
if you think about it, all of the great leaders all have very similar traits and characteristics, right? And we were just talking about this, both good and bad. If you look back through history, leaders have certain traits and characteristics. So I don't know. What do you think? What is a leader to you, Mike?
A leader is somebody that without um, care for title or prestige takes
Mhm.
charge and is willing to communicate with the team to help them understands the team members and the people that they're over or that they're working with,
Mhm.
um, and can get results through communication, through understanding, and through clarity, and making sure that everyone's on the same page and that they're working towards the same achieved goal or vision, I guess is what you'd say.
Yeah,
And when you really take that role of leadership, you own that vision and help everyone get there.
it's an owner.
Um,
It is a driver. It's a facilitator, right?
yep. Um,
Yeah.
now, the question I have for you with leaders is, can it be a learned thing? Can you learn to be a leader?
Mhm. I think that there are certain traits that are inherent to all good leaders that I don't think can be learned. But let's be honest, most things in life can be learned or at least improved, right? I think
Developed?
yeah, developed, fostered, grown. I think everyone has certain innate traits or abilities that stand out and kind of push them towards leadership positions. You know, you're more vocal, you're more outgoing, you have a bigger picture vision. Those are things that I think are inherent to the person and are hard to grow. Changing someone's personality is super tough. But the basic skill sets that all great leaders have, I think, can be grown. You know,
Yeah.
learning to be a good listener. I think that's a critical skill for any great leader. That is something that you can get better at over time. Better at communication, very similar, right? Those are the types of things that you can grow and you can get better at. Being able to plan and be more um, conscientious to the environment around you. Those are skills that you get better at with age, with experience, and those are things that can be grown. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it can be developed and grown. But I also think it's almost, even though people might not be working on developing and growing those skills, sometimes they're humble, they're quiet, they daily do their job, they show up, they do their job. Those are leaders to me in a different way than we think of like a charismatic leader. It's
Hmm.
somebody that shows by example. They may not have, they've learned how to do the job. They're amazing at it. They're amazing at what they do. And they quietly lead without a lot of charisma and those type of things,
Hmm.
and they lead by example. And that's by learning the knowledge and skills that they need to do their job.
Yep.
Now, charisma and those type of things, that's pretty hard to teach, and
Agreed.
that's something that has to be developed. And I think it comes through confidence, um, and comes through,
I like that.
those comes through. And again, that confidence can come though. If you're doing your job daily and you know it very
You
well,
can grow.
you have
Yep.
that confidence, and then you can be charismatic about it. And hopefully, it shows out in your behaviors and your actions. But I think there are people that naturally come by that though.
Hmm.
Um, that
Uh-huh.
just have it inherently. I mean, you think of a lot of the charismatic leaders. I mean, Elon Musk is a leader, and he's got all sorts of different views on things, and however you want to view
Sure
it,
does.
there's a lot of people in this world that really love what Elon Musk does,
Yep.
and
Well, why is
would
that?
follow him.
Right? I mean, let's talk about that. What makes Elon Musk such a attracted, individual? Let's break some of these things down. He leads with confidence. That means he's got conviction with what he's saying. You may not agree with, some of his stances and principles and where he goes, but he's confident in his delivery, in his conviction, in his path forward. He doesn't waver, right?
His
Um,
vision is so big,
it's clear.
but the knowledge that he has about his vision is to a level that most people will never achieve in most industries.
Yeah, you were talking about confidence in leadership, and I think that's one of those things that is constantly overlooked is the ability to make a decision with conviction and stick to what your belief systems are and what you believe in and what you think is right.
Mhm.
It is hard to lead. My viewpoint of leadership has evolved as I've gone through my career and I've had different levels of ownership within an organizational structure. And you forget how lonely it can be at the top when you're making the decisions and you understand the impacts and ramifications, right? Um, but getting back to the confidence piece, if you have the confidence in yourself to make some of those hard choices, those hard decisions, and you have the ability to explain extremely clearly to every level of the organization as to why you're doing this. This is what I'm doing. This is what I hope to achieve. This is the problem statement that I'm trying to solve. This is the time frame. And more importantly, this is the vision of what this looks like when we're done, right?
Mhm.
If you can explain all that, other people gain confidence from your delivery. And that makes it really easy to go get that change started. And it sounds like we're kind of talking about glaciers like we did last week, but
Yep.
having the confidence to set the direction, to understand when to pivot and to be able to communicate that out. To me, that is the essence of great leadership. And people like Elon Musk have that. They exude it, and people are attracted to that.
Yeah, exactly. And that again, it kind of comes back to that teachability too, that they learning leadership, you have to learn from your peers and from what you're doing and
Yep.
have a knowledge and have that
Yep.
knowledge and be willing to take feedback on your vision, but also keep driving towards your vision.
Yeah.
That and not stop.
I love that point. If you're not willing to take constructive criticism and feedback, that's not leadership. That's dictatorship, right?
Yeah.
Um, being able to listen to those around you, having trusted advisors. Heck, Mike, we are trusted advisors in the business space, right?
Yeah.
What if people weren't? willing to listen to our viewpoints or what we thought maybe could be a different angle, um, we would make zero impact on coaching our clients, right? So having
Mhm.
the ability to be open and honest with yourself and to take that feedback and be able to pivot away from maybe some nuances of your idea or your direction that aren't working, I think shows really strong leadership and more importantly, courage. You don't have to be the smartest guy in the room or gal. What you have to do as a great leader is you have to be able to listen to all the different ideas, formulate the opinions on which ones will work best to solve that specific problem, that specific purpose or task, and then know how to disseminate that information and utilize all of the assets, resources, people, skills, knowledge at your fingertips in order to get it done in the quickest or shortest period of time. That to me is leadership 101.
Yeah, I mean, leading means there has to be people with you. You can't just do it on your own, right? Leading means
What?
there's
You can't
others.
lead yourself?
No. And if people don't want to listen to you and you're spouting off and it's not getting any results, then you're not leading. You're
You know,
just spouting off and it's not going to get you anywhere. So nobody's following and no one's willing to take your input or leadership advice.
the best skills that I think any leader could possibly have is the art of listening. I truly do. Um, when you think about the leaders that go on and ramble, they have an all hands call and it's an hour-long call and they're sitting there just talking for 45 minutes. How often do people zone out and not pay attention? How often is the message heard? Not really. Those great
Yeah.
leaders, they're engaging. They throw out a topic, they give their stance, they request feedback, they ask people around them to chime in, and they make it a discussion, a dialogue that keeps everything engaged, it keeps people moving, it keeps people interested. But more importantly, it shows that your ability to listen and to respond in real time is a skill or trait that people can then glom onto, right? And they are attracted to that. And they want to know that we're not rigid in your beliefs and you're not going to be, stuck going down a path, even though other people may have different opinions. I think listening is one of the most important traits that we could possibly have as leaders.
Yeah. Say less, listen more, right? A lot of the think of the greatest visions in the word economy of some of the greatest visions you ever heard from a leader. They don't use a lot of words, you know. They try to keep it simple and to the point so it sticks in your mind. And a leader will listen to what everyone else has to say, but they want to try and get that vision into a short phrase so that it's something everyone can get behind and follow.
Yeah.
It's
Do do you use a note-taking tool for meetings, Zoom meetings,
I
Read AI,
yes.
Fathom, things
Yeah, yeah,
like that?
Fathom. Yep.
Yeah, me too. And one of the things I love about utilizing those tools is it's got that monologue feature where it tells you when you've been talking for X period of time, right? And what I love about that is it forces you to think, all right, could I have said that in less words? Do I need to be going on and on? Is my point being taken? Am I doing a good job letting others speak, letting others, am I listening? Um, I think that those are fun tools because it holds you accountable for your delivery of your communication, which leads to how you're leading and how you're leading the conversation, how you're leading the activity, etc.
Yeah. As a leader, you think about it, if you're listening and you're hearing what everyone's giving you, everyone holds a different piece of the pie or a different piece of the puzzle. And so they're bringing different viewpoints of how to accomplish what you need to accomplish. So
Hmm.
you have to listen to multiple people's perspectives as well. So not just allowing for one person to also step up as a leader. We have to allow other people. And that comes down to communication styles. We might
Yeah.
recognize there's a high D in the room and there's a high S that's being quiet over here. Um, we probably need to hear what that high S is doing. So as a leader, we have to allow for that to happen as well,
Yeah.
to take in and encourage. out of people to talk to us,
So, I
um,
mean,
and create
this,
environments that they feel comfortable
yes.
doing that.
Right? What you just talked about is basically knowing your audience and knowing your players and the resources that you have available, and as a leader, pulling out the skills, the knowledge that they have, and putting them in a position to succeed. Right? You
Correct.
definitely want to make sure that you're getting everyone's viewpoint, but not everyone is going to be willing to offer that information up. So as a leader, it's about coaxing that information out and setting people up so that they have the ability to chime in and to get everyone's viewpoint so that everyone can succeed and hear all different views, right? Because I think that's absolutely critical. If you have every single person in your org that all has the same views, the same style, the same structure, what do you think is going to happen with all of the subsequent solutions or ideas that come up? They're going to be the same,
To go one direction. Yep.
one direction. Tell me, when was the last company that you saw that did one thing or that only solved problems one way?
I don't know.
None. None, right?
There's yeah,
None.
there's more than one way to do everything.
So that means
So
good leaders in the good companies and all of those things, they're versatile. They're versatile. They don't just do one thing. They don't just create one type of decision. Um, they're very free flowing and they're responding and reacting to the world around them, the challenges as they change, the technology, communication trends, cultural cues, et cetera, et cetera. Respond, adapt, overcome.
yep,
It's something that you hear constantly from some of our military friends, right?
yep.
Um, they got it right though.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, okay,
It,
so question for
so
you.
yeah.
Think back, what was the first moment in your life where you saw yourself and realized that you are a natural leader?
Ugh. It's
See?
probably right. Yeah, I try to think like I was trying to combine I don't know, man. It probably goes back to like middle elementary or middle school. There were times where I found myself that other people were following, you know.
Hmm.
Um and yeah, I don't know. Not
For me,
necessarily
it's easy.
following.
I
Yeah,
think about
go for it.
sports. I think about
Yeah,
sports.
that's so I didn't do the team sports because
Okay.
personal things, but it's a bad leg, but I did biking and things like that, and that's what where my mind went was BMX biked for
Yeah.
a lot of years, and we were always having to build our jumps. And I was always the guy that was gathering all of my friends together so we could go build in the woods. We'd go take these jumps that we'd go jump our bikes on. Well, you had to have the jumps to go jump your bike. And so
Absolutely.
I'd be like the guy after school, hey, we're going down to the river jumps. Let's
Yep.
go. Grab your shovel. I'll see you down there at 3 o'clock.
I
You
think
know,
there's so much that you can take away from sports with regards to leadership. For me, my mind goes back to, playing soccer and basketball as I don't know, well, let's just call it a young man. We'll leave it at that. But you're vocal. You were a captain. You were leading the charge. You had vision, and you could set plays, and you could set people up to be in the right spots for certain set situations. I think that there's so much that you can learn through team activity and team sport as it pertains to leadership that basically just continues on through your entire life. Whether it be the skills that you learn about execution and overcoming adversity, and you take those into a school setting where you're doing group projects and you're corralling individuals, or you've entered your first job, sub college, and you get put in charge of this new project or task or activity, and you have to pull together resources from multiple avenues or divisions of the overall business, et cetera. All of those things I can point back to some of the earliest examples within my youth sports. So it's like I knew that I wanted to be a leader. I knew that I wanted to be someone that people looked to for the answers. And that doesn't mean I have to have all the right answers, Mike, but I want to be involved. I want to help. I want to be the connector. And that's kind of
Yep.
even what we're still doing, right? Even as coaches, we're out in our communities networking constantly. We're always going to all these different meetings, whether it be BNIs, which you and I are both part of, or, other avenues. And one of the reasons why we do that is not just to get clients and to, you know, connect with those around us, but it's to connect the people that we know to help solve some of the problems and challenges that they're facing. And it may not be business coaching, right? But it's like, hey, I got a guy for you because I know this person really well and I trust them and I'm going to help facilitate solving your problem
Gonna play
through
this
one of my
position that you
connections.
need. Solve your problem.
I was joking with a friend of mine last week, and I told her that she needs to be a concierge connector. Okay. And I'm like, you should just stop everything that you're doing in your life and focus on this because you have all of these connections, you have all these avenues into people, and just that by itself is a skill, right? And I was like, you should do this. Just full-time connecting of resources, people, talent, etc.
You're amazing at this.
Yeah, she's like, I don't know how to do this. I'm like, we should talk.
Let's figure this out. I
Ah,
actually saw a
listen.
post from a coach recently that did the same thing, and that person's
Oh
creating
yeah?
their vision. Yeah, it was had to do with distance running. He helped someone create their vision of, they were coaching youth, and now they're coaching individuals on distance running, and
It's it's
help them find that vision.
it's funny you should mention that because just recently I had a friend of mine say, the things that we talk about, as I'm coaching business and coaching organizational structures and whatnot, he's like, this really represents itself really well to youth sports. Would you mind talking to my son? And I was like, about what? He's like, the same things that you're talking to me about, but let's put it in terms of, his sport and what he's trying to do. And I started thinking about it and I was like, you know what? Um, I'd love to. Haven't had a chance to do it yet, but I will. But there's so much that you can take out of just our life experiences and our examples. And through coaching, you can extend those experiences into all kinds of different disciplines, different models, different areas of influence. And you know, that in itself right there, Mike, is leadership. It is.
Well, so what does it come back to? It comes back to the name of both our businesses, your focal point.
Yeah.
What you're really good at as a leader is what you should focus on. Um, if you're good on the accounting side, then maybe you need to focus on the accounting side things. But
Yep.
um, whatever it is that you're really good at, if you get so skilled and so good at that as a leader, you're going to really excel as a leader as well.
Leaders
And
lead, leaders teach, leaders mentor, leaders guide. Um, that's that in a nutshell is if I'm looking back at what are the best leaders that I've been around, they've been charismatic, they've been magnetic, they've been empathetic, they have been encouraging, they have gotten the most out of me, they have pushed me, they have driven me towards places that I didn't think that I could go. So they were challenging. They were all of these things, but they did it in a way that made me love them, right? Everyone wants to be challenged, but they want to be challenged in a respectful manner.
Mhm.
And when you're a great leader and you can inspire, you can guide, people want to follow you. And that may be from project to project, maybe from job to job. Uh, it may just be they want to be around you, right? Because you're
Mhm.
just magnetic like that. That's leadership to me.
Yeah. I one of my earliest leaders that really changed my, from my early 20s, he would put me doing jobs that I was really, it came really easy to me, but I didn't like.
Mm,
But I realized he was doing that because as a leader, he knew I could do it really well. And I succeeded amazingly. Even though it wasn't something I loved to do, he saw that in me. It grew on
yep,
me.
yep,
Eventually I became knowledgeable about the fact that I was the best at doing that. It took me a while to recognize that, but he
yep.
saw that in me that I didn't see before. Um, and I succeeded
That's
really
great.
well. in that position because of his vision. And at the end, I'm grateful to him now, still to this day. He's a great man. But if he wouldn't have seen that in me and put me there, I wouldn't have recognized that as a skill. And it's a lot to do with what I'm doing right now, coaching. I mean,
I've got a very
kind of
similar
ended
story to
here.
go tell. So
Yeah.
I had a manager at IBM, I, greatest leader I've ever been around. Uh, Saw very early on in working with me, and he kept pushing me to do more public speaking, to give more presentations, to go in front of large volumes of people. And man, like at first I sucked at it. I mean, I couldn't talk. I was scared. I was nervous. I was jittery. But the more and more he made me do it, and I hated him for it. Hated it, right? But he kept having me do it, and he kept critiquing. And hey, that was better. But let's focus on this. Let's do that. Point of my story, he forced me to do some things that were uncomfortable. But if you think about it, it was the baseline for what I do now. I mean,
Yeah.
we speak for a living. We have to think and we analyze and we do all kinds of things of that nature, but we talk.
Yep.
We ask questions. We talk. We give presentations. We do workshops. We do a business analysis and then make proposals. We are in front of either a camera, an audience, pitching, doing things all day long. We talk. We talk. I don't think I would be here today if that wonderful man, I call it, this is the home I live in. It's the house that he built because he forced me to do these things and I grew so much. But I don't know if I would be coaching and I would be good at what I'm doing now without his guidance and his pushing and his ushering. You know, that's leadership. And the best part, I will remember him forever. And this is not just a fond memory passing by. You know, he's been so impactful on my life. And as a leader myself, that's what I hope to leave that legacy for someone else, right? I want
So
someone else to look back and say, Adam did this for me, and he was the greatest leader that I've ever been around. And I push myself to try to be that every day.
you and I just had a moment with each other
Oh,
sharing, and it's truly, I hope everyone has that experience. If you're listening right now, stop and think about
hmm.
who that leader was to you, because that I hope everyone's had that experience in their life. And if they haven't, they should seek out a mentor or somebody to lead them or somebody that they trust that can help them become a leader themselves.
Yeah,
But it's something that everyone should have that experience of. And as a leader, we should be willing to, not willing, we should try to create those opportunities for others.
not just great. I mean, you should strive to try to be that person for somebody else,
Yeah.
right? I mean, as parents, that's what
Seek
we do on a
out.
daily basis, right? We always try to nurture and grow our kids and hope that we haven't given them too many problems later in life, right? But we are trying to lead them, right? And so, but think about it. Parenting is very similar to the leadership qualities that we're just talking about. But you should strive to be a good parent, to be a good leader, to be that person for somebody else, so that years later, they look back and they're doing a podcast in 20 years talking about you, right? That is a legacy in leadership that I want to have. Period.
Leaders should seek. And
And you know what?
it probably comes naturally, or at least it has for me in my career to lead when I've come naturally when people are put before me that I want to help grow.
Leaders should never stop learning. Never
Yep.
stop learning. It doesn't matter what you're doing on a daily basis. There's always something you can pick up, some nugget of knowledge that you can store back and will be utilized at a different time. And you know what, Mike, you can learn things in every situation from any type of person. It doesn't have to be you have to be in a room of, type A plus leaders. Um, you can learn something just by going down to the local grocery store and looking at someone's work ethic as they're stocking shelves or breaking down boxes or something even as simple as that. Just
Yeah.
look at the skills that people utilize, how they execute them, the pride and pleasure that they take in their work, And those are all little nuggets that you can squirrel away and utilize at a later date. Never stop
Listen,
learning. Never.
listen and learn. Yep.
Man, I
Well,
feel like we
I
just
think
parented so hard.
yeah. I think we've had fun here. This has been a great topic. I
I like it,
really
man.
appreciate you jumping in on it with me.
Yes, and I'm
Um,
I'm glad we just had that moment. So thank you for that.
well, I think this is probably a good place to wrap up.
Yeah,
Thank you always for being on, Adam, and thank you
likewise.
everyone who listened. Like always, you can catch us on LinkedIn, Podbean, and Apple Podcasts and other podcasts and social media areas. So look us up. Thanks, everyone.